All right, point number 4. I talked about it already. We're moving from digitization to datification. That transformation is upon us, and I think it defines the next 20 years. Let me give you some examples of what that looks like. Most of you are probably familiar with the Freestyle machines from Coca-Cola. Let you pour any number of combinations of sodas or drinks that you want to pour. A few years ago, they did a competition where you could go in and they had some people who had submitted different combinations of flavors and sodas. And if you wanted to vote for one of those flavors or sodas, the way you voted was you went to a Freestyle machine and you poured their formula. You did that match. You did that mix. And that was counted as a vote. So how did Coca-Cola count that as a vote? All of these machines are connected. So Coca-Cola, in real time, knows how the tastes and preferences are evolving. They know how regions are changing. They know what people are drinking around the world in real time, all because these machines are connected and feeding that data back to Coca-Cola. Coming out of the pandemic, they introduced their next iteration of the Freestyle machines, which allows you to order your drink from your smartphone, so you don't actually have to touch the unit if you didn't want to touch the unit. How could they roll that service out so quickly? Because they were all connected. So they've been harvesting this data for years now, understanding tastes and preferences and how they're evolving. Think about how Coca-Cola used to do this. They had a bunch of scientists and lab coats coming up with different formulas, and what did that get us in the 80s? New Coke, right? That got us New Coke. So successful that they killed it almost immediately and brought back Classic Coke. So the Coke that we drink today is called Classic Coke because the product introduction, New Coke, was a total failure. But now think about all of the combinations of sodas that we've seen today. Orange vanilla Coke, cherry Sprite. All of these flavors, I think, are being informed by what we're pouring in these Freestyle machines around the globe on a daily basis. One of the recent flavors is Starlight, space flavored. I don't know what that means. I've heard it tastes a little like cotton candy, but I'm guessing that space flavor. They also had one that's called Pixel Dust or something, Pixel for the digital transition. They've digitized their soda, I guess. But I'm sure that these flavors are being informed by what we're pouring, looking at mixing and matching, and when they can't come up with a clear name for it, let's just call it Starlight and release it in can. And so they're using it to drive their products. I think that same thing can happen with procurement. You know now from the data what's coming in. You can look at what people are looking for, what people are doing, and you can start to think about what products and services do we offer our customers? How do we delight our customers in the future? We're automating things like ping-pong playing. Here's a ping-pong playing robot. Now you may say, why would I ever want a ping-pong playing robot? We probably won't see these happening and showing up in our garages anytime soon. But think about what's happening here. Here's a ping-pong playing robot that's playing against a human, and obviously it's designed to continue the play, to extend the volley, because nobody would play against a robot if it just were to, spike it on the first hit and the game was over, right? That would not be very fun. So it's designed to match the person's play, and as that person improves, it will become more competitive and it extends the volley. But think about what's happening. When that person hits the ball, the robot has to move the paddle and return the ball in a way that the ball stays in play and is returnable by that person. But all of that information, how hard the person hit it, where they hit it, the trajectory, the backspin, the speed, none of that information is known before they hit it. It's only known after they hit it. You can't quite see it in the photo, but at the top of the device are multiple cameras that are picking up all of that information in real time and translating it into data, and then translating it into instructions for that mechanical paddle so it can move and return the ball and extend the play. How fast it's been hit, the trajectory, the speed, the direction, all of that is only known after the person hits it. And that's the environment that we're moving into with data, that we'll be able to ascertain behaviors in real time and drive decisions from that. Nike is using it to predict what size shoe you should buy. So Nike, as some of you might know, is moving away from their distributors, and they're moving direct to consumer. And in fact, they've rolled back some of their existing relationships that have existed from the very beginning of Nike. They've pulled back licenses with retailers, and they're going much more direct to consumer. Now, in the past, reverse logistics, they let the retailers deal with that. Now they have to deal with it, and they don't like dealing with reverse logistics. They want you to buy the right pair of shoe at the point of purchase and be happy with it. But every shoe fits a little different. So what do? We're going to use the camera sensors on your phone. We're going to scan your feet for you, and based upon the model of shoe that you pick, we'll predict what size you should buy. We talk about data feeding artificial intelligence. What AI ultimately does, at its essence, is makes predictions cheap and inexpensive. So we're going to move from a world of very few predictions to a world of abundant predictions. Twitter, many of you probably familiar with Twitter. I'm from Washington, D.C., so we became very intimately familiar with Twitter. Twitter allows advertisers to advertise to users based upon gender. But Twitter doesn't ask you what your gender is when you sign up for the service. Rather, it predicts your gender if you don't choose one. Maybe it's looking at your photo and doing image recognition, computer vision. Maybe it's looking at how you write, who you follow, what you write about. And then it's predicting, it's assigning you a gender, and if it feels like within some confidence interval, call it 95%, it can accurately predict your gender. It'll assign you that gender and then allow advertisers to use that information. So that's what AI is going to empower. So far, I've heard a lot about making sure your data is clean and accurate, and that's important as we start to train these AI tools. But the next big step, AI will start to fill in some of those blanks for you, helping you build out your data set. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, recently said business logic will move from being code that's written to code that's learned from data, creating a completely new generation of business process and productivity systems. Just like in the world of Coke, just like in the world of Nike, we're going to use data to dictate the products and services that we deliver, how we deliver them, what they look like, rather than prescribing what our customers need and want. Maybe we'll allow them to tell us, and we'll be able to discern that information over time from the data.